Be me, 42, married for 15 years. Always made sure Daniel knew I wasn't going to be some submissive housewife. We met in our late 20s, got married after 3 years of dating. I had a good career in marketing. He was in software development. When we had kids, we agreed to share responsibilities equally. By equally, I meant he needed to step up because I wasn't doing all the emotional labor. Made sure our 2 kids, Emma and Jack, understood that mom and dad were partners, not some outdated 1950s marriage where the woman does everything. Felt pretty good about how I'd structured our household. Daniel never complained much, so I figured he agreed with how things worked. He did his share of cooking, cleaning, took the kids to activities. I made sure he understood that just because he worked didn't mean my job was less important. Even when I was home more than him, I reminded him that domestic work is real work. Things felt stable, predictable. Then last month, everything exploded in the worst way possible. Emma is 13 now, Jack is 10. Daniel had been quieter than usual for a few weeks. I figured he was stressed about work. Didn't push it because I've learned men need space to process their feelings. One Saturday morning, he tells me we need to talk. My stomach drops. He sits me down in the kitchen and his hands are shaking. Tells me he's been unhappy for a very long time. Says he's been keeping a journal for years and recently reread it. Realized he can't do this anymore. I'm completely blindsided. Start asking him what he means, what's wrong, we can work on it. He just keeps saying he's felt unloved for over a decade, that he stayed because of the kids, but now he needs to think about his own happiness. I'm sitting there in shock, unloved. I've been right here the entire time. We've raised 2 children together. We've been partners in everything. He leaves the house for a few hours to give me space. I'm spinning, trying to understand. Start looking around for this journal he mentioned. I know I shouldn't, but I need to understand what he's talking about. Find it in his desk drawer in his office. It's not just one journal, it's several, going back years. Start reading, and my hands are shaking. The first entry I land on is from 6 years ago. Another day where I felt like a function rather than a husband. She needs me to do things, be places, manage tasks. But when was the last time she asked how I was feeling? When was the last time she touched me without it being perfunctory? I miss being wanted. I miss feeling like I matter beyond my utility. Keep reading, going further back. Entry after entry of him describing feeling lonely, feeling like a co-parent and roommate but not a partner. Describing times he tried to be affectionate and I brushed him off. Times he wanted to talk about his feelings and I told him I was too tired. Times he suggested date nights and I said we needed to prioritize the kids, my first. Instinct is defense. He's being overly sensitive. He's rewriting history to justify whatever midlife crisis he's having. I call my best friend Sarah that evening. She comes over. I show her some of the entries. She reads them silently. I'm expecting her to validate me, tell me he's being unreasonable. Instead, she's quiet for a long time. Maya, she finally says, when was the last time you told Daniel you loved him? I'm taken aback. I don't know. Recently, I'm sure. We say it. When was the last time you initiated any kind of intimacy? Sarah, I don't see how that's... When was the last time you asked him about his day and actually listened? I'm getting defensive now. I listen to him all the time. Do you? Or do you wait for him to finish talking so you can talk about your day? This feels like an attack. Sarah, I can't believe you're taking his side. I'm not taking sides. I'm asking you to really think about this. I have thought about it. He's being dramatic. Marriages go through phases. We've been focused on the kids for 15 years. Yes, Sarah, that's what parents do. They prioritize their children. But Maya, you can prioritize your kids and still make your spouse feel valued. I do make him feel valued. I acknowledge everything he does. I thank him. Sarah gives me this look. Thanking him for doing dishes isn't the same as making him feel loved. What's the difference? One is transactional, the other is emotional. I'm getting frustrated now. This is ridiculous. I've been a good wife. I've never cheated. I've never been cruel. I've been present. Have you, though, been present? Yes. When he talks about his work, do you engage or do you think about other things? I pause. I listen. That's not what I asked. Sarah leaves and I'm angry. Angry at Daniel for writing these things instead of talking to me. angry at Sarah for not supporting me. Spend the next few days reading more of the journals. It's painful. He writes about specific moments I don't even remember. Our 10th anniversary, when I spent the whole dinner talking about a problem with Emma's teacher. A time he planned a weekend away and I canceled it because I had a work deadline. His birthday 3 years ago when I forgot to get him a card. Countless times he reached for my hand and I pulled away because I was busy. Times he tried to talk about feeling disconnected and I told him he was being needy. I remember that one. He'd said he felt like we were drifting apart. I'd literally used the word needy, told him that constant reassurance wasn't healthy, that we were adults and didn't need to be attached at the hip. Daniel comes back after a few days staying at his brother's. I tell him I read the journals. He's not even angry about the privacy violation. He just looks tired. So now you know, he says. I try to explain myself. Daniel, I didn't realize you were feeling this way. I tried to tell you multiple times. When? I don't remember you saying you were unhappy because you wouldn't hear it. Every time I brought up feeling distant, you had an explanation for why it was fine. I was trying to reassure you that all marriages go through phases. No, you were dismissing me. This stings. That's not fair. I was trying to keep perspective. Your perspective, not mine. You never asked what I needed. You never told me what you needed. I did, Maya, over and over. I asked for date nights. You said the kids needed us. I asked to talk about us. You said you were too tired. I tried to be physically close. You said you weren't in the mood. Daniel, that's not fair. I've been tired. I've had a lot to manage. I know, and I helped. I did everything you asked, but you never once asked what I needed emotionally. So what? I'm supposed to be a mind reader? No, you're supposed to care enough to ask. That hits me hard, but I'm still defensive. I do care. When? Show me when. I'm scrambling. I care about your health. I remind you to go to the doctor. That's managing me, not loving me. I care about your career. I ask how work is going. You ask, and then you interrupt with your own work stories. That's called conversation, Daniel. No, it's called waiting for your turn to talk. I don't know what to say to that. He continues. Maya, I don't think you're a bad person, but I think you've been so focused on making sure you weren't going to be taken advantage of that you never actually showed up for our marriage. What does that even mean? It means you've spent our entire marriage making sure I did my share, pulled my weight, respected your career, your boundaries, your needs, but you never once stopped to consider mine. That's not true. Isn't it? Name one thing you've done in the past 5 years that was just for me, just because you wanted to make me happy. I'm thinking hard. I bought him a nice watch for Christmas 2 years ago. I got you that watch. That was a Christmas gift. I'm not talking about obligatory gifts. I'm talking about spontaneous gestures, love notes, random acts of affection, anything. I'm coming up empty. I make you coffee in the morning. You make coffee and hand me a cup. That's not the same thing. How is it not? Because you're making coffee anyway. You're not doing it for me. I just benefit from it. I'm getting frustrated again. So nothing I do counts unless it's some grand romantic gesture. No, Maya. I'm saying nothing. You do feels like it comes from a place of love. It all feels obligatory or transactional. That's a horrible thing to say. It's the truth. We sit in silence. Finally, I ask what he wants. I don't know anymore. I thought I wanted you to fight for us, but now I'm not sure there's an us to fight for. This terrifies me. Of course there is. We have 15 years together. We have kids. We have a shared history and shared responsibilities. But do we have love? I love you. He looks at me sadly. Do you? Or do you love the life we've built? I don't know how to answer that. The next few days, I try to prove I love him. I make his favorite dinner. He thanks me politely. I ask about his day and really listen. He gives short answers. I suggest we watch a movie together. He says he's tired. Nothing is working. I call Sarah again. I don't know what to do. I'm trying, and he's not responding. Maya, he's been trying for 15 years. So, what? He gets to punish me now? He's not punishing you. He's protecting himself. From what? from getting his hopes up again only to be disappointed. I hate this. So I'm just supposed to give up? No, but you need to understand that a few days of effort doesn't undo years of neglect. I didn't neglect him. Didn't you? Sarah and I get into it. Sarah, I was a good wife, I was faithful, I was present, I raised our children. You keep saying you were present, but Daniel's journals suggest otherwise. So his feelings are more valid than mine. That's not what I'm saying. It sounds like what you're saying. It sounds like you think I'm the villain here. I think you're someone who got so caught up in making sure you weren't being taken advantage of that you forgot to actually nurture your relationship. That's a ridiculous oversimplification. Is it? You've spent 15 years making sure Daniel did his share of housework and childcare, but did you ever make sure he felt valued as a person, not just as a co-parent? I valued him. How? By thanking him for doing dishes? By acknowledging when he picked up the kids? Yes! What's wrong with that? Nothing's wrong with it, but it's not love, Maya. It's project management. I'm getting really angry now. So what should I have done? Written him love letters? Made him feel special for basic tasks? No, you shouldn't have made him feel special for basic tasks, but you should have made him feel special for being him. I don't even know what that means. I know. That's the problem. Sarah sighs. Maya, when was the last time you complimented him on something that wasn't his productivity? I think about it. I tell him he's a good dad. That's productivity. When did you tell him he's handsome, smart, funny? When did you show interest in his hobbies, his thoughts, his dreams? He doesn't have hobbies, really. He's busy. He does have hobbies. He likes photography. When was the last time you asked to see his photos? I didn't even know he still did photography. He stopped showing me because I never seemed interested. That's not true. It is true, Maya. I've seen him try to show you things and you barely look. I realize Sarah has been watching this whole time, seeing things I didn't see. Why didn't you say something? I did. Multiple times. You always had an explanation for why everything was fine. I'm quiet. You do this thing, Sarah continues, where you intellectualize everything. Someone has a feeling, and you explain why that feeling is wrong or invalid or just a phase. I don't do that. You're doing it right now. She's right. I hate that she's right. So what am I supposed to do? I think you need to really sit with what Daniel has been saying. Not explain it away, not defend yourself. Just sit with it. And then what? And then maybe apologize. I have apologized. Have you? Or have you said, I'm sorry you feel that way? Fuck. Over the next week, I try to really think about things. Reread more of Daniel's journals. One entry from 8 years ago guts me. Emma asked me today why mommy doesn't hug daddy like other mommies hug their daddies. I didn't know what to say. I told her mommy shows love in different ways, but the truth is, I don't know if she loves me at all. I think she loves the idea of our family, the structure of it. But me? I'm not sure she even likes me as a person. She never asks what I think about anything that isn't logistics. She never seems curious about my inner life. I'm a function, a role, not a person she chose and continues to choose. I'm crying, reading this. Is this really how he felt? I try to remember 8 years ago. Emma would have been 5. I was working full-time. Emma had just started kindergarten. I was stressed about balancing everything. Daniel was supportive, did his share, but did I ever stop to think about how he was feeling? Did I ever ask? I think about our relationship before kids. We used to talk for hours, about everything and nothing. I remember feeling fascinated by how his mind worked. He was thoughtful, funny, creative. When did I stop being fascinated? When did he become just a co-parent and roommate? I think it was gradual. After Emma was born, I was so focused on being a good mother, so determined not to lose myself in motherhood. I read all these articles about women who sacrifice everything, who make their husbands the center of their universe, who have no identity outside of wife and mother. I was determined not to be that woman, but in avoiding that, did I go too far the other way? Did I make sure I didn't sacrifice myself by never sacrificing anything at all? Not even a little bit of time or energy or attention. Daniel and I try to have a real conversation. I tell him I've been thinking about everything. I want to understand, I say. Help me understand what you needed that I wasn't giving you. He looks skeptical but starts talking. I needed to feel wanted. Not needed, wanted. What's the difference? You needed me to co-parent, to share bills, to be present at school events. But did you ever want me there just because you enjoyed my company? I think about this. I liked having you around. Liked having me around or liked what I contributed? Both. When was the last time we did something together just because we enjoyed each other? I can't remember. We watch TV together. We sit in the same room while watching TV. You're usually on your phone. This is true, I'm always on my phone. Okay, I can be better about that. Maya, it's not about the phone. It's about the fact that you're never really with me. Mentally, emotionally. You're always somewhere else. I have a lot on my mind. I know, but so do I. And you never ask about it. I do ask about your day. You ask, how was your day? And I say fine, and you say good, and that's the end of it. Because you say fine. Because I learned that if I say anything else, you're not really listening anyway. This hurts. That's not fair, isn't it? Last week I told you about a problem I was having at work, something I was genuinely stressed about. Do you remember what you said? I don't remember this conversation at all. I don't remember. Exactly. I told you I was worried about being passed over for a promotion I'd been working toward for 2 years. You said, I'm sure it will work out, and then started talking about a problem with Jack's teacher. I have no memory of this. I'm sorry. You're not even remembering it now. I have a lot of conversations, but I'm supposed to be important to you. My friend Rachel comes over for coffee. I tell her what's happening, expecting support, sympathy. Honestly, Maya, I'm not surprised, she says. I'm shocked. What? I've watched you and Daniel for years. You're not very nice to him. What are you talking about? I've never been mean to him. Not being mean isn't the same as being nice. I don't understand. You're dismissive. You interrupt him, you correct him in public, you talk over him, you act like he's an employee more than a partner. I'm defensive immediately. I do not. Maya, last month at dinner, he was telling a story and you cut him off 3 times to correct minor details. That didn't matter. He eventually just stopped talking. I was just trying to get the story right. It wasn't your story to tell. I'm silent. And at Emma's recital, he said he was proud of her piano playing, and you immediately said, well, she still needs work on her tempo. Why couldn't you just let him have that moment of pride? Because I don't want her to get complacent. Maya, you do this with everything. You can't just let something be good or nice. You always have to add a but, or a well actually, or a correction. I'm just trying to be realistic. You're being negative, and you do it to Daniel constantly. Like when? Like every time he does something domestic, you find something wrong with it. He loads the dishwasher wrong, he folds laundry wrong, he cooks dinner, but it's not healthy enough, or it's too salty, or whatever. I'm just giving feedback. It's not feedback, it's criticism. Constant criticism. So, I'm supposed to just accept mediocrity? God, Maya, listen to yourself. He's not an employee. He's your husband. And doing things slightly differently than you would isn't mediocrity. I'm getting angry. So I'm the problem. I'm the villain because I have standards. You're the problem because you've made your standards more important than your husband's feelings. That's ridiculous. Is it? You've spent 15 years making sure he met your expectations. But did you ever ask what his expectations were? I don't have an answer. Rachel keeps going. You know what Daniel told Mark last year? He said he felt like he was walking on eggshells in his own home, that nothing he did was ever quite right, that he was always being judged. Mark is Rachel's husband. He said that? Yes. And Mark asked me if you were always that critical, and I realized you were. Not just to Daniel, to everyone. You always know better. You always have the right answer. You always need to correct or improve or optimize. I'm just trying to help. But nobody asked for your help, Maya. And help that makes someone feel inadequate isn't actually helpful. This is hitting too close to home. I think you should leave. Maya, no. Seriously, if you're just going to attack me, you should go. Rachel stands up. I'm not attacking you. I'm telling you the truth. but I understand if you're not ready to hear it. She leaves. I'm alone with my thoughts, angry at everyone, angry at Daniel for not communicating better, angry at Sarah and Rachel for not supporting me, angry at myself for what exactly? For having standards, for not being a doormat, for making sure my marriage was equitable. But was it equitable? Daniel did everything I asked, but I never asked what he needed. I made sure he did his share of housework, but I never made him feel appreciated for anything else. I made sure I maintained my identity, but I never took interest in his. I was so focused on not being taken advantage of, on not being some subservient wife, that I never actually built a partnership. I built a system, a well-organized household with clear roles and responsibilities. But where was the love? Where was the intimacy? Where was the connection? Daniel asks for space, says he's going to stay with his brother for a while. The kids are confused, scared. I tell them Dad and I are working through some things. Emma, who's 13 and too perceptive, asks if we're getting divorced. I tell her I hope not. But you don't seem that sad, she observes. This stops me. What do you mean? You seem more annoyed than sad. She's right. I am more annoyed than sad. Annoyed that Daniel is blowing up our life over feelings, annoyed that everyone is acting like I'm the bad guy, annoyed that I have to deal with this on top of everything else. But shouldn't I be devastated? Shouldn't I be heartbroken? My husband of 15 years just left, and I'm annoyed. What does that say about me? What does that say about us? I try to talk to my mom, hoping for some perspective. Mom, do you think I'm cold? She's quiet for a moment. Not cold, but guarded. You've always been very protective of yourself. Is that bad? Not inherently, but in a marriage, you have to let your guard down sometimes. I do let my guard down. Do you? When was the last time you were vulnerable with Daniel? I don't know what she means. Vulnerable how? When did you last tell him you were scared, or insecure, or needed his support emotionally, not just practically? I can't remember. I don't like feeling vulnerable. I know. You never have. Even as a child, you hated asking for help or admitting you didn't know something, because asking for help makes you weak. No, sweetheart. Refusing to ask for help makes you alone. This hits hard. Your father and I, we've had our struggles, but we've always been able to be vulnerable with each other, to admit when we're struggling, to ask for comfort. I've never seen you struggle. Because you were a child, we didn't burden you with our problems. But trust me, we've had plenty. How did you work through them? By talking, really talking, not about logistics or schedules, about feelings, fears, dreams. That feels so vulnerable. Yeah, that's intimacy, honey, real intimacy. It's not just physical, it's emotional. The next time I see Daniel, I try to be vulnerable. I tell him I'm scared, that I don't want to lose our family, that I know I've messed up, but I don't know how to fix it. He listens, but he doesn't rush to reassure me. Maya, I appreciate you saying that, but I need more than words. What do you need? I need to see real change, not just you being scared of losing our family. I need you to actually want me, not just want to preserve the family structure. I do want you. Why? The question catches me off guard. What do you mean, why? Why do you want me? What do you love about me as a person? I should be able to answer this easily, but I'm struggling. You're a good father. That's not about me, that's about my role. You're smart. What do I think about that smart? What ideas of mine interest you? I don't know. You're kind. To who? You've said I'm too lenient with the kids, too soft on Emma when she doesn't practice piano. I had said that. I just meant, I know what you meant. You meant I'm not raising them to your standards. We're both quiet. I can't answer your question, I finally admit. I know. That's bad, isn't it? It means we have a lot of work to do. If we're going to do the work, I want to. Do you? Or do you want things to go back to normal? What's the difference? Normal wasn't working, Maya. Normal was me being miserable and you being oblivious. I don't want to go back to that. What do you want? I want a partner who sees me, who's interested in me, who makes me feel valued beyond my utility. I can do that. Can you? because that requires you to be less focused on yourself and more focused on us. This annoys me. I'm not self-focused. Maya, you are. You're focused on your feelings, your needs, your perspective. When was the last time you asked about mine? I'm asking now. Because I'm leaving. Not because you were curious. He's right. I'm only asking because I'm scared of the consequences. Not because I genuinely want to know. We agree to try therapy. Our first session, the therapist asks us both what we want from the marriage. I talk about wanting partnership, equality, mutual respect. Daniel talks about wanting to feel loved and valued. The therapist asks me what I do to make Daniel feel loved. I list all the things I do. I make sure he has time for himself. I don't burden him with emotional labor. I acknowledge his contributions. The therapist stops me. Those are things you don't do, or things you do for the household. I asked what you do to make Daniel feel loved. Those things show love. Do they? Or do they show respect for autonomy and acknowledgement of participation? I don't understand the distinction. The therapist turns to Daniel. When do you feel loved by Maya? Daniel thinks for a long time. I can't remember the last time. This should hurt. More than it does. I'm more confused than hurt. The therapist asks me when I feel loved by Daniel. I list times he's been supportive, helped with the kids, taken on extra work so I could pursue opportunities. And when do you do things like that for him? The therapist asks. I'm silent. I support his career. How? I don't complain when he works late. That's tolerance, not support. Have you ever actively helped him pursue a goal? I can't think of anything. He hasn't mentioned any goals. Daniel speaks up. I mentioned wanting to take a photography class 3 years ago, and you said it was a waste of money. I don't remember this. I'm sure I didn't say it like that. You said, is that really the best use of our resources right now? Same thing. The therapist asks what happened to the photography class. I didn't take it, Daniel says quietly. The session continues. The therapist asks about emotional intimacy. When do you share your feelings with each other? Daniel says he stopped trying because I would always explain why his feelings were wrong. I object to this characterization. I don't say his feelings are wrong. I provide perspective. Can you give an example? The therapist asks. I think about it. Like when he feels stressed about work, I remind him that stress is normal and he shouldn't catastrophize. And how does that make you feel, Daniel? Dismissed. Like my feelings don't matter. I'm frustrated. I'm trying to help him not spiral. But did he ask for help, or did he ask to be heard? I don't know the difference. The therapist explains that sometimes people don't want solutions or perspective. They want empathy and validation. But that's not helpful, I say. Why not? Because it doesn't solve anything. Not everything needs to be solved, Maya. Sometimes people just need to feel understood. This is a foreign concept to me. Feelings seem pointless if you're not going to do something about them. The therapist picks up on this. Do you have trouble sitting with your own feelings? I don't understand. When you feel sad or scared or angry, what do? I figure out why and address it. Immediately, yes. What's the point of wallowing? What if the feeling doesn't have a simple solution? There's always a solution. The therapist and Daniel exchange a look. More sessions follow. Each one feels like an attack. The therapist keeps pointing out patterns. I'm defensive, I intellectualize, I deflect. I make everything about being right rather than connecting. I prioritize being heard over listening. I need to be in control. I struggle with vulnerability. All of this feels like criticism. I start to dread therapy, but I keep going because Daniel says it's non-negotiable. During one session, the therapist asks about my childhood. I had a good childhood, stable parents, good education. Were you encouraged to express emotions? Not particularly. My parents valued intelligence and achievement. Crying was seen as weak. Asking for help was discouraged. So you learned that being strong meant being self-sufficient. Yes. And vulnerability was weakness. Yes. The therapist nods. And now you're in a marriage where real intimacy requires vulnerability, which you've been taught to avoid. I see where this is going. So this isn't my fault, it's how I was raised. I didn't say it wasn't your fault. I said there's a reason for the pattern. But you're an adult now. You get to choose whether to continue the pattern or change it. I am trying to change. Are you? Or are you trying to do just enough to keep Daniel from leaving? I don't answer. Daniel and I have a breakthrough of sorts. Not a good one. We're in the car coming home from therapy. I'm complaining about how therapy feels one-sided. It's always about what I'm doing wrong, I say, because the therapist is trying to help you see patterns you don't see. But what about your patterns? Your issues? Like what? Like, I don't know, you're too sensitive maybe. Daniel pulls the car over. We're in a parking lot. He turns to me. Maya, do you hear yourself? What? The therapist spends an hour pointing out specific behaviors, giving concrete examples, asking you to consider how your actions affect me, and your takeaway is that I'm too sensitive. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. Every time you're confronted with the possibility that you've hurt me, you find a way to make it my fault for being hurt. That's not true. It is true. When I told you I felt lonely, you said I was being needy. When I said I felt unappreciated, you said I was keeping score. When I said I felt unloved, you said I was being dramatic. Nothing is ever your fault because anyone who feels hurt by you is just too sensitive. I'm quiet, he continues. I have spent 15 years trying to be less sensitive, less needy, less emotional, trying to be the husband you wanted, and I've been miserable. So yeah, maybe I am too sensitive, but maybe that's not the problem. Maybe the problem is that you have no empathy. This cuts deep. I have empathy. Do you? Name one time you've genuinely put yourself in my shoes. I'm thinking, when you were stressed about work. When I was stressed about work, you told me I was catastrophizing and needed perspective. I was trying to help. I didn't need help. I needed empathy. I needed you to say, that sounds really hard, and maybe give me a hug. That seems pointless. And there it is. Empathy seems pointless to you. Connection seems pointless. Emotional support seems pointless. Unless it's productive or solving a problem, you don't see the value. I don't know what to say. Maya, I don't think you're a bad person, but I think you're emotionally unavailable. And I can't be married to someone who's emotionally unavailable. I'm here, aren't I? I'm in therapy. I'm trying. You're going through the motions, but you don't actually believe you're wrong. You think everyone else is just too sensitive or too emotional or too needy. You're here because you don't want to be divorced, not because you actually want to change. Am I? Is he right? I think about it, really think about it, and I realize he might be right. I'm here because divorce sounds hard and embarrassing, because I don't want to be a failure, because I don't want to split custody and sell the house. But am I here because I love Daniel and want to make him happy? Do I even know how to love someone in the way he's describing? This emotional, vulnerable, empathetic way. It feels foreign and uncomfortable and pointless, and that realization is devastating. We sit in silence for a long time. Finally, Daniel speaks. I think we should separate. What? No, we're making progress. We're not, Maya. You're learning the right things to say in therapy, but you don't mean them. You don't feel them. I do. You don't. And I can't keep doing this. I can't. Keep hoping you'll suddenly develop empathy or emotional availability. I've been hoping for 15 years. I start crying. Actual tears. Maybe the first time I've cried in years. I don't want to lose you. You lost me a long time ago. You just didn't notice. This breaks something in me. Please, Daniel, I can change. I don't think you can. I don't think you want to. And I can't keep sacrificing my emotional well-being waiting for you to become someone you're not. We drive home in silence. He packs a bag, tells the kids he's staying at Uncle Mike's for a while. Emma hugs him and cries. Jack looks scared. I stand there feeling numb. After he leaves, Emma comes to my room. Mom, why is Dad really leaving? I don't know what to say. We're having some problems. Because you don't love him. I'm shocked. Of course I love him. You don't act like it. My 13-year-old daughter just said this to me. What do you mean? You're always annoyed with him. You barely talk to him. You never seem happy to see him. You're nicer to your friends than you are to him. Is this what my daughter has been seeing? Emma, marriage is complicated. It doesn't seem that complicated. You either love someone and treat them nicely or you don't. Out of the mouths of babes. She leaves and I'm alone. truly alone for the first time in 15 years. No Daniel in the next room, no sound of him getting ready for bed, no good night, just silence. And I realized that silence has been there for years. I just filled it with other things: work, kids, activities, friends. I never noticed that Daniel and I had nothing to say to each other because I never tried to talk to him. Not really. Not about anything that mattered. I spend the next few days in a fog, going through motions, getting kids to school, going to work, coming home. Everything feels empty. I try to remember the last time I was genuinely happy, not accomplished or satisfied or proud, but happy. I can't remember. I've been so focused on managing and optimizing and improving that I forgot to actually live to feel to connect. Sarah comes over. I tell her everything. I think Daniel's right, I say. About what? About me being emotionally unavailable. I don't know how to connect with people. Not really. You connect with me. Do I? Or do I just talk at you and you're kind enough to listen? Sarah is quiet. Sometimes it feels one-sided, she admits. Even my best friend. I'm a terrible person. You're not terrible, you're just very focused on yourself. How do I change that? I don't know if you can. Not in a way that's fast enough to save your marriage. This is the truth I've been avoiding. 15 years of emotional neglect can't be undone in a few weeks of therapy. Daniel is done, and I can't blame him. I'm sitting here now, alone, realizing that I've lost my husband, not to another woman, not to some dramatic event, but to simple, quiet neglect. 15 years of taking him for granted, of prioritizing everything else, of being so focused on not being taken advantage of that I never actually gave anything. He stayed for the kids, endured 15 years of loneliness for them, and I never even noticed, because I was too busy making sure I wasn't being oppressed or taken advantage of, too busy maintaining my independence and identity, too busy being right, to notice that my husband was suffering, that my marriage was empty, that I had become exactly what I feared, not a doormat, but something worse, someone so focused on not being hurt that I never learned how to love, and now it's too late. Daniel wants a divorce. The papers are coming, and I'm sitting here realizing I lost something I never appreciated, never even tried to appreciate until it was gone. I deserve this, all of it. And that's the worst part, knowing I have no one to blame but myself, knowing I had 15 years to change, to notice, to care, and I didn't. I just didn't.